Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. This is Bill Morton, my co-host, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest today is Dantès Alexander, a Chicago Music Awards nominee. How are you, Dantès?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you both for having me today. Thank you.
It's always great to have you, and I heard you have a lot of updates.
Oh my gosh, so many updates. A lot of work has taken place in the community, a lot of good work, and I'm back with more new work. So always a pleasure to be here with you both.
Can you tell us a little bit about your new album?
Yeah, so my new project is called They Won't Go When I Go, and it is a project that focuses heavily on grief and loss and some of the positive ways that one can cope with grief. And, being a Chicagoan, we experience a lot of grief sometimes with, all of the gun violence and things like that. And we sometimes don't really have positive outlets for our grief. And that's really what this new project is about.
Is it music therapy for you? Is it are you conveying a message of grief or overcoming grief?
Well, I think the message for the whole entire album, honestly, is one of hope. And the title track from the album They Won't Go When I Go is They Won't Go When I Go. And the song literally is a funeral march for all intensive purposes. It starts with a very melancholy piano line, and it talks essentially about us coming into this plane alone, making great friends and good tangible connections, and us departing for our next transition, and how the ones who are still left living have to live. And that's the most difficult part when we deal with death, is learning how to live and continue to live once our loved ones have transitioned.
When you, as you worked on your album and when you finished your album, how was your grief changing during the different parts of your project?
I guess I'm fortunate because I'm able to, use my work as music therapy. It was very, very, very cleansing for me. This project was really like a spiritual rebirth. At the beginning of the project, unfortunately, I lost, my mother. I had shared that, with the community. And then thereafter, I lost my father. So you can imagine, the type of grief that I was dealing with. And I think, for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but the first stage, even if I am recording music, is always going to be an acceptance, and denial. My God, how could they leave me? I can't believe they're gone. What am I going to do now? So in the beginning, it was really more or less confusion and just trying to figure out, where I fit in, into, the new equation. And with They Won't Go When I Go, it really allowed me to pour all of my sorrow into the music. I composed it along with my business partner, who's not here with us, Mr. Paul Murphy. And we really tried to make sure that it stayed on a funeral march tone. And there's some bright points, in the album, but I really want to stress the importance of finding ways to work through all of the steps and process of grief. And, They Won't Go When I Go, honestly, was the first part of that, and just saying, yes, I accept that. I even have a track where I work with one of our most favorite Chicago sons. I can't mention any names, but he's a very prominent reverend here, and I was able to get him to work on the project as well. So I'm honestly still even trying, to process everything, and hopefully, I've taken those steps, in the right direction.
Is there any song on the album that is concerned about trying to fill the void that your parents left you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a song on the project called Waiting, and waiting is exactly as it sounds. You're waiting to hear the noise. We sometimes are so busy in life that we can't hear the voice speak to us and provide us with, a little guidance. And waiting is essentially just saying, I'm here, Lord, I'm waiting for you. Please give me a sign that my parents are still out there and that my loved ones are still out there. Speak to me, Lord. Tell me what's going on. And that's really what that record's about. It's a completely a cappella track. There's no music behind it. And I want it that way because that's how we all feel sometimes. You want to just break down and say, oh my God, I can't take anything else. Lord, please help me. And that's really what that song's about. And I think so many of us feel like that.
Did you ever receive a sign from either God or from your parents?
That's a very good question. I spent, probably the last year and a half just trying to find some type of confirmation that, that my parents still exist. Because it's hard, right? When we lose people, we just can't accept that they're gone. And I have spent many, many nights, praying and asking Lord just to, give me a sign that, that everything's okay. And I've heard, birds and just little simple things, to let me know that, they're still there. And
were there any significant times of the day that you shared with your parents? Then at that certain time of day or on that certain day, there was a sign your parents saying hello.
And I think we talked about this prior. My mother, before she passed, one of the last records that she actually heard was the She's a Lady Project. And if you guys don't remember, we donated most of our proceeds from the She's a Lady Project to the AIDS Foundation of Chicago in honor of my mother's memory because she was such a big AIDS advocate. And that was one of the last songs that she heard. And every Friday night around 2 o'clock, we would get on the phone. Irregardless, we're talking 2 o'clock in the morning here. Like, that special connection you have with your mom, And we would just go over, all of the work that, I had done. And she'd say, this sounds good, that sounds good. And mind you now, that was Friday, 2 a.m., like in the morning. And after my mother passed, I heard a small voice from her to say, keep going and everything's going to be okay. And that happened exactly at, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm a firm believer in processing grief, the right way and opening up the channels so you can, ask, for, a little time to speak with those loved ones.
Were you sleeping when you heard her or were you awake?
Oh, no, I was wide awake. It was sort of scary. I heard the voice as clear as day, and I'm just grateful that I did hear it. It put me at rest a little bit and I was able to, continue the project.
Did she sound like she did during her last couple of years, or did she sound younger?
You know what? She sounded exactly the same. And you know what she told me, guys? She told me to put her on my album. So I am actually very proud to say that my mother is actually going to be featured on my album. She's going to be on Catch Me When I Fall.
That's great.
And I think I shared that with everybody at the chamber. So I'm very excited about it. That very same voice that I heard, I was able to sample and put in my music and give her life again. And it's a very special gift. And I really wish that I could, share that ability with everybody to, give everyone's loved one, a second chance at life. And I've been able to do that through my music. And it's such a blessing. And just like she's still here.
So the whatever she told you, you were able to find that sentence or two from some music and then apply it into the album?
Well, I can't give my secrets away. Every good magician has his secrets.
A trade secret.
Right. So I can't tell you how I did that, but let's just say that I had more than enough material to bring my mother's voice back to life.
Sure.
And she just, leaped literally right out of the phone to me. And very happy with it.
Did you feel better? I know that you were startled, but how long did it take for you to maybe feel better after you heard your mother's voice?
I think I probably was actually a little creeped out, to be honest with you, at first, because you don't know what it is that you're hearing. Sometimes you think the first voice that you hear, may be the Lord, but it could also be another voice. So you just want to make sure that, you're speaking to the right voices, And it took me a while to process it, but after sitting down and praying on it, and also even, going to, get some therapy for it, which I'm not, ashamed to admit because, dealing with was lost is very, very difficult. My therapist even said, I think your mother is speaking to you, and she wants to use her voice to help you inspire others, and I'm just glad that she's able to do that.
So your new album, we've heard some of the songs. It is a departure from She's a Lady, and it's a far departure from Tick Tock, The Beat Don't Stop. So tell me how you progressed, and are you going to progress forward? Are you going to how are you developing with this?
That's a very good question. I think for me, the greatest strength that I have as a musician is the ability to be able to transform. Okay, and so if one day I decide that I want to have long cornrows down to my hips, I can have long cornrows down to my hips. Or if I want to have a big blown out afro like I got today, then I can do that. But with this project, I really wanted to focus on authentic singing. And that's something that I feel like in 2024 is very, 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 very hard to come by. And I wanted to take things back to church. And They Won't Go When I Go is a complete stylistic departure from all of the dance music that I made previously. There are elements of gospel with the radio edit on the project, which is just strictly my voice and piano. And of course, there's still all of the boogie woogie, on the remixes because people do like to dance, So we've infused that gospel melody, with amapiano, which is actually a form of South African house music. So it's been received very, very well. But the main thing is just making sure that people actually know that I can sing. And that's been somewhat of a challenge being branded as an EDM artist. And being a Chicago Music Award nominee, I have the ability to sing all styles of music. And that's really what this project is about, is saying real music has returned. He can sing. And authentic. I can stand in a room and sing in front of people without auto-tune. And that's really why you hear a lot of that authentic vinyl sound on the record, because I literally sat there in front of the microphone and sang. Some
of the interesting parts about it is sometimes you can hear you breathing in between. You can hear the nuance.
And we wanted to keep those things in there because today we're so used to being programmed to hear, all of these super polished tracks on the radio, and we forget that there's someone on the other side of that whose job it is to clean that up so you don't hear the scratchiness. But if you hear the scratchiness and I hear the scratchiness, you know that person is really singing. And that's what matters most to me, is being known as a serious singer, one who is worthy of his Chicago Music Award nomination, and also one who can bring all the folks to the dance floor. But my job, being a millennial, is to sort of bridge the gap between those stars of yesteryear like Prince and Michael Jackson, George Michael, and bring, all of those stylistic trends and things that I grew up liking to, the younger folks. I'm young still too, but,
Did you sing in the choir at church when you were young?
So my training actually started with Mrs. Mutry out at Rich Central High School a very long time ago, and she was actually my choir teacher. And I mean, this woman's skill was so superb that she could literally have all of the basses, altos, tenors, and sopranos line up in one room, guys. And she'd go section by section. You, sing, you. She'd pull you out. She'd pull you out, bring you down in front of the whole entire class, and make you sing the part until you get it correctly, and make everyone take notes. That's how intense she was.
So there is no stage fright after her?
Oh, there can't be any stage fright after her. I mean, I was blessed enough to have one of the best teachers, and if she's still living, I certainly would like to extend all of my thanks and gratitude to Mrs. Mutry from Rich Central High School. So thank you for all of your love and tutelage.
When you just lent your voice to this to this album, was there any other reason that you just wanted to keep the music out and just keep the voice in?
Well, I think I wanted to just sort of be consistent, because I think if you're from Chicago and Dantès, you expect a Dantès record every year. And in this day and age, that is really like the common standard for you. If you spend more than a year away, then 9 times out of 10, when you do come back, your style of music is going to be sort of outdated. So I wanted, to just be consistent and give my fans something to look forward to, every year. And this project, truly, honestly, I am so proud of. So many people have worked on this project, not only just in Chicago, but in Ukraine, which is even more amazing because we know that, they're, in the midst of a crisis and a war, on their end. So I'd like to extend my thanks to them. And we really worked cohesively to try and tie all of these, songs together and paint a picture. And at the beginning, like Trudy mentioned, it starts on a very sorrowful, note, dealing with that grief. And by the time that, we're, at the close of the album and you hear the Reverend's voice, it's become a full dance party. And so we know that through, death, it is not the end and that it should be a celebration.
It sounds kind of like New Orleans.
Absolutely, and that was the feeling that we wanted to go for. We wanted to literally walk you through each one of these forms of grief. So you have the denial, the acceptance with the radio edit of "They Won't Go When I Go," and by the time we get to the middle of the project, we're at "A Song for You," and "A Song for You." I'm sure everyone knows that classic Donny Hathaway song, and I've reinterpreted it to fit my tastes. And life's a party after we go through death, and we want to make sure that people know that it's okay if you're dealing with grief, and to always remember to smile and celebrate that loved one's existence, and make sure that you're doing everything that you can to keep their memory alive. It's very important.
We're sure that your collaborators in Ukraine have also felt grief. So did they apply any of their grief to your project?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my collaborators who I worked with on one of the songs, Faith, which is another classic song, but I've reinterpreted to sort of make it a little more spiritual and less sexual as we remember the song. They literally put their blood, sweat, and tears into the project. I didn't have consistent communication with them all the time because of what's going on. But when you listen to the record, there is a symbiosis that occurs between my voice and their voice, and I think that's just because we're sort of in this place, I think collectively, as a society right now, just trying to figure out how we can process grief.
What's the name of that song?
Faith.
Faith.
And were these Ukrainian vocalists?
I'm sorry?
Ukrainian vocalists?
No. So they actually are one of my production collaborators. So one of the nice things, when you get a Chicago Music Award nomination and you get a name, is that you can reach out to other people and have them work with you, because I can't do everything by myself. But they really did an amazing job, and I just would like to thank them for that.
Is this the first time you worked with them?
Yes, this is my first time working with them. I knew when I first met them that they had something that I was interested in. I've always been interested in retro sounds and things like that, and it just sort of fit. You just know when it's a good fit.
Is Ukrainian music much different from Western music, and did they apply any elements of it into the project?
Well, I don't think Ukrainian music is actually any different from Western music. They have rappers just like we have rappers here. They have R&B singers, they got pop singers, they got country singers. So much of, American music has been exported globally that it's just one big, global, music community. And because of that, they were able to, bring their big, EDM nightlife sound, which really is hot, in Eastern Europe, to the project, because I wanted that big sound. Because even though we're talking about faith and having faith and being strong and all of those things, we want to make it big and modern and soulful.
Did you have a lot of fans in Ukraine, do you know, before this project?
I did have small percentages of fans in Ukraine. With the They Won't Go When I Go EP, I started to see a lot of new fans actually from Australasia. So a lot of new fans from Australia.
We've discussed your worldwide fan base in the past, but can you just tell our watchers, our viewers, like where are you in the world?
Well,
In a short way.
In a short way, Dantès is, he's invaded Europe. He loves Europe. I love Europe. No, I'm the same guy. But Dantès is being, I can successfully say that, and happy to say that am being played in Europe, Australia, South Africa, Mexico. I love Mexico. I love my South American fans, Argentina. My gosh, I could just go on and on and on and on. And it really is amazing when you can sit down and look at all of these places that you've only dreamt about visiting. And, there are people there who are listening to your music and identifying with your story and your grief, and it's helping them process their grief. And I just feel so fortunate to do that and to be able to touch all of these new places that I haven't been before.
Are your fans able to contact you and express their feedback about the album?
Fans are always encouraged to leave their feedback on Facebook. It's very difficult to respond to everyone's message, but I certainly will do my best. It's very hard when there's 50 to 60 comments, and sometimes you can't respond to all of them. I'm sure you guys can imagine it can be very tedious, but nonetheless, I love all of my fans, and I encourage that.
Can you tell us the name of your album again? And then if people want to contact you, how can they contact you?
The name of my new project is They Won't Go When I Go. I can be contacted at facebook.com/Dantès Alexander Me or instagram.com/Dantès Alexander.
And how many songs are on the album?
So there are 11 songs on the album. So this is my first album since the New Jack City era.
Okay.
That's a long time ago.
I remember that. We can talk for an hour about that.
And that's just crazy when you think that I've been doing this for such a long time now, and I've put out so many successful EPs, but I have not returned to the long form album format, and I'm just so excited to give people a real picture of where I am mentally and where I am in my life right now.
Well, we're really enjoying your music.
Thank you.
And your evolution of the music.
Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry for your grief.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to our audience to know, and how they could access your work?
Sure, absolutely. I would like to encourage all of our viewers to stay positive. I know that there are a lot of things right now that are going on in our country and as a society, but we've got to find a way to break through and always remain positive, because if we remain positive, we can overcome any obstacle. If people would like to research a little bit more about me, you can just do a quick Google search, and I will be there.
And how do you spell your name, Don?
Yes.
It's Dantès. So there is a sh over my E. Unfortunately, there is no hotkey that we could use to, like Beyonce, Dantès. Not Dante, not Beyonce, Dantès. So if you can say that and pronounce that, then you're on your way.
Wonderful.
Okay. And are you starting your new project yet?
Yes, we're already in the middle of the rollout. It comes out Friday.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dantès.
Thank you.